Greetings, Glitter Goddesses. This is part 2 of my baby brag book, my easy baby brag book. I don't know what I'm calling this series yet. You know, because you clicked it. So, but I don't know. So, right now I'm working on a baby book with the Simple Stories Hello Baby collection. This is part 2. In part 1, I showed how to do the construction for the pages and the pockets. And this particular style of book, of course, if you don't need a baby book, don't make a baby book. It just lends itself very well to packs that have lots of 4x6 cards in them, as well as any trip where you have a lot of memorabilia or something like that, or a gift for, yes, this is going to be on YouTube. This one will. It'll be in the archives as well, but it will also be on YouTube. Usually the surprise shows, the mystery shows, I have been leaving on YouTube. So I'm trying to do a mix. But everything always goes in the archives, whether or not it gets left on YouTube. So that way, if you have access to archives, you have access to everything. You don't have to come to YouTube and you don't have to watch ads. But some stuff I am also putting on YouTube. Some series. So it's a mixed bag. But this one, I gave the measurements in the first part, and they will be up on YouTube. So this one will be one of the ones where you have everything you need on YouTube to do it, and there is no tutorial. And so there you go. Yet another one that would be good for the Glitter Party 2019, because it's also quick and easy. I've been recommending for Glitter Party 2019 that if you're like working on a big album like Split Decision, that you want to be your entry, to take a break from it and do something quick and easy like this one first, because you do get an entry for every project you submit. So if you do a quick and easy one, you can at least get your name on there for sure, and you know that you're in it. That way, if you don't finish your big one, you're still, you're still entered. Because I don't want you to like miss it, especially if Half the Fun's boy version continues to be haunted and it takes me forever to get back to Split Decision. That's what I'm worried about. And then the way you enter something from YouTube is you just put its playlist, if it has a playlist in your entry, or if it doesn't, you put the video itself. But this one will have a playlist. I'll definitely do a playlist for this one. So Priya says that she's seriously considering doing one of the quick and easy ones, but then she's afraid that she won't finish it. This one's so simple. When you see how quick and easy it is, I have faith in you. I have faith in you. All right, so now that we've got all the tape on, I'm going to burnish. And then I cut these apart here on the ends. And then I don't remember if I finished this thought in the previous video, but the Cayenne Dorian pocket, I'm going to do a mashup of the Dorian pocket and the Thanksgiving Gratitude Place Card Project. I'm going to mash them up and turn the Dorian pocket into a way to hold your Thanksgiving Gratitude Place cards. So we'll talk about that. I've done several different formats over the years of the Gratitude Place cards. This is going to be just another one. We're going to use the cayenne paper as a base for it, and the Dorian pocket as a base for it. So, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. But that project, what we do is, I design a place card, and inside you put a journaling spot, and then you make it's too late for the Canadians. I always forget, but you make everyone who comes to your Thanksgiving dinner table write what they're grateful for in it, and then you can take a picture of them and put it on the inside. And then what that does is it creates an album that's a record of gratitudes for your whole family and friends. And if you do it every year, they get used to it, like they get over it, that you make them do this. Like the first year, my family members were a mess. My sister was grateful for the existence of Indian food, which, I mean, granted, it is good, but I think she probably could have reached a little bit deeper. But they've improved over the years. That's not a knock on Indian food, but it's a knock on my sister's participation. Okay, so what I'm going to do is we're going to put a white card and then the actual card, the card. And then this goes on this page like so. And so just like that, I'll be able to boom, 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 we'll have that part of the album done. So what I'm thinking we could do it for Christmas. Okay, so Candy does it for Christmas, and she said her family's the same. They're much better now after doing it for a few years. Yeah, after once they get used to having to do it, they do think about it, and it comes easier for them to be a little bit more profound. So, okay. Yeah, I think what we can do is I'll put a flap that hold, like these are 4-inch flaps. We'll just make it 4x6, and then the photo can go right on it or something like that, or we'll trim down a card or something. So we'll make a 4x6 flap. So what I'll do is I'll cut them all to 4x7 and just score them at 6 inches, and I'll do them on opposite sides so that the one will show. So this one I'll do on the left, this one I'll do on the right. So I'll put my metal piece on the opposite side from my number, which is what I need to know right now. Where am I going to put that metal piece? All right. She says, I don't know if they're more profound, but they whine less. Whichever. I mean, just take it. Take the win. Take the win. All right, 3, 6, I need 12 of these, 9, 12. So I'm going to put a little piece of tape on the back of the magnet as well. Just so this one goes on this side, on the right. Let me get my tape peeler. These are tin caps. These are tin roofing caps. They're used to hold roof tiles down. All right, so this one's on the left. Your son-in-law said he was grateful for light bulbs. Well, light bulbs are good. I mean, without them, life would be a lot more complex. So, but you know, and again, I notice how I just do the same thing over and over again until I'm done. With this type of a book, that works really well. You know, to just focus on one thing at a time. So now this friend that I'm sending to at one, she knew someone who did Stampin' Up! Or Creative Memories or something. So I think she has some crafting supplies, but I don't know that I would consider her a big crafter. But I think she, you know, she probably has like a paper trimmer or something like that if she needs to cut something down. So I don't have to be totally rigid about everything has to hold 4x6 if I don't want to. However, she will also just have had a baby. You know, I would like to make things as easy as possible. So if she doesn't have to go look for whatever box she put her paper trimmer in and find it, that's better for her. So I probably will still stick with everything has to be 4x6. Okay. Apparently I pulled out a lot of extra tin caps. Oopsie doodle. And there we go. All right, so now, what do I need to do? All right, 1, 2, wait, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right. You skip him now? I am using Miracle Tape for everything in this book versus ATG because I am giving it to a non-crafter who cannot repair it if it needs repairs at any point. So that's just, you know, I just try to think. I just try to think 10 steps ahead. So sometime in November, we'll do the Dorian Pocket Gratitude album. I'll think of another cute adaptation we can make to the Dorian Pocket to hold the place cards. And we'll have yet another version of the Dorian Pocket. And then I'll have fulfilled the promise to use Cayenne if we met our goal. And you'll have an awesome project to do. So we'll probably do that at the beginning of November, so you have a few weeks to get it done before your Thanksgiving dinner. And if you don't do Thanksgiving, then make them do it for Christmas. You know, if you get together at Christmas or some other holiday in the winter. Or do it for New Year's. Have everyone say what they were grateful for in the old year and what they're looking forward to in the new year. Lots of different ideas for how you can use that. Please don't forget to save the color pop box. I will try. It's in a very, very prominent place in my craft room so that I can always see it from my desk, because I'm trying to not let it get lost in a drawer or a box or whatever. So I am going to do my very best to save it for Scrappyable. Worst case scenario, it's a crayon box is what it is, I think, in style, and I can always go get a crayon box if I do lose it. It's just that a crayon box is not as cute as a ColourPop box. So hopefully nothing will happen to it. But if something does happen to it, the backup plan is it's the same style of carton as a crayon box. So I will still have something I can go to Walmart and grab a box of crayons and use that for inspiration. And I just have to do more adaptation to it, I think. But a little, because the ColourPop box is a little bit more kind of already cute for crafting, but all right. You want to come to my house for Thanksgiving dinner? Okay. Oops, I'm not done. The one problem with assembly line, now this would not be a problem for you because you would be able to watch TV, watch Netflix, listen to audiobook, listen to podcast, whatever. But for doing a live show, it's a lot of repetition. But I did want to do it assembly line style just so you could see how easy it would be for you to replicate that at home. You want to come to my house for Thanksgiving? Well, last year for Thanksgiving, we got Cracker Barrel. We got Cracker Barrel for last year for Thanksgiving because last year for Thanksgiving we were going through this huge, and I mean huge, declutter of the whole house at the same time as we were doing the technology upgrade and organizing the craft room and decluttering the craft room. So we were all so exhausted at Thanksgiving last year that we were like, we're not cooking. It's not happening. We have too much to do. We, you know, Black Friday's tomorrow. Like, we're just not, we can't do it. So, but it was pretty good food anyways. So it wasn't bad. But we might end up doing it again this year because, so who knows? That may be our little family tradition. The Florida kids, that's what we're called in our family. Although I'll be in Virginia next week, beginning of the week. Because my mom has to have knee surgery and my dad has to go out of town for a business trip and couldn't get anyone to cover the trip, teach the class he was supposed to teach. None of the other teachers who can teach it would do it. So he can't be there to help her. So my sister and I are flying up to help out while he's gone. So she has to have a knee replaced. She's had a knee replaced already. This is the second one, the other one. So it's not the second replacement for the same knee. It's the second, the other knee. Thank goodness we only have 2 knees. I know. So then she'll be done. She'll have all new and fresh knees. All right. So we have all of our white mats now, and these will just brighten up the paper because the paper is a little like very soft pastel, whatever. So I don't want it to blend too far into the yellow. So, okay, this is what we're going to do now. We're going to take 3/8 inch tape. We're going to tape all of the pockets. And then we're going to cut all their corners, and then we're going to get them into the book. I have one knee that was kind of like tapped for replacement. My left knee, the orthopedic surgeon I saw, he said that from what he can tell, while I was still growing sometime, I broke that knee. I just fell down and broke it, and obviously didn't bother me enough that I like screamed and hollered, and they took me to the hospital because, you know, no one in my family even knows when I would have done it. But I just cracked the patella right down the middle, so it grinds, you know, it's grinding away at the, what is it, the meniscus, is that what it's called? So it's always kind of grinding away. And he said that I went to see an orthopedic surgeon because I had a stick shift, a manual transmission, and I was sitting in DC traffic every day. And what was happening was pushing the clutch over and over and over and over and over again because of the stop and go traffic was what was making the knee hurt. And so he said the only way to fix it, he said I had 2 choices. I could get it replaced, but I was like 25 at the time, and he said that they only last for like 20 years. So I would have to get it replaced at you know, at least once, probably twice more. Like, so I'd have to have maybe 3, maybe more knee replacements in that knee. And he said, and I would regret that because there's like diminishing returns. They get worse every time they have to be replaced. He said, or I could buy a new car that was an automatic transmission and watch deep knee bending and not bend that knee very deeply and not kneel. He said, don't kneel. That was the other thing. Don't kneel. Don't put pressure on the knee. Don't bend that knee. Don't squat. You know, just always be really cognizant of keeping that leg straight as much as you can. So I went with option B. I bought a new car and I've kept that knee as straight as I can. And the pain almost completely, like it just is, this knee never bothers me. That knee never bothers me. I have much more pain in my right leg than in my left leg. And my right leg's the leg that's bothered by the arthritis. So, you know, his advice totally worked. And he said, you know, eventually you might get to a point where you can't stand it anymore. And he said, and then he said, if you're over 45, he said, go for it. Get a new knee. He's like, but if you can hold out till you're at least 45, he said, that's what I recommend. And I'm 39, and I don't really see a scenario where it would start bothering me in the next, you know, 6 years or so. So, I mean, that was good advice. That was good advice. So we're going to burnish all of the tape. I've been burnishing the tape throughout. You want to burnish your tape. But my mom, you know, she walks every day with a group of friends. So she needs to get it done because it's now at a point where she can't walk with her group of friends. That's how she's in that much pain with her other knee. So, and that's why she had the first knee done, was because she couldn't walk with her walker group. So now she's going to have the second knee done, and after a couple months she'll be good at, like, it's a major surgery, but it's so like Kimberly says, it's such a relief because it limits your movement so much that when they replace it, like once you get over the surgery, it's like, oh my gosh, life changer, you know. All right, so we're gonna cut the corners. So that we don't have any extra bulk in the corner. So what I'm doing is I'm just cutting through the X made by the two score lines. And I'll show you how this all comes together to make a cool page. But yeah, he pointed out that I have a scar on my knee in almost the exact same position as where the crack in the patella is. So he said at some point I must have just fallen really hard on that knee, split that knee open, and I just didn't seem like I was in enough pain for them to notice that my knee was broken. So, but the same thing happened to me when I broke my thumb. I had a really severe break. I have severely broken each of my thumbs, but on the first one, when I got an x-ray, other fingers were broken. And they're like, are you sure this doesn't hurt? And I'm like, I'm sure that doesn't hurt. And they're like, oh, well, you must have broken it before and not noticed. So I had multiple broken fingers. I must have this, like, I just ignore pain, I guess. You know, I'm just like, well, I just broke my finger. I guess I'll walk it off. So, all right, so I'm going to get my tape peeler. Have I ever taken a bone density test? Yes. And I have particularly strong bones, actually. So I guess I'm just have a high pain threshold. So, but yeah, I had broken a few bones. Maybe. They might be brittle. I've never broken a long bone, though. You know, I've never broken, like, my arm. I've never broken my leg, you know. So, I think these are more flukes. Especially because what happened to my thumbs would have broken anyone's bones. It's not like what happened to them was minor. So yeah, I've never had a break to... All right, so that's how it looks. Isn't that beautiful? So now we're going to peel this tape. And on the side that doesn't have the flap, we're going to put it in the corner. And what I'm going to do is line it up with the score line. and the edge. And then flatten it out. Okay. Nice. So that's page 1. Then we just keep going. So yeah, I don't know. But yeah, my knee doesn't hurt at all, so whatever. He gave me good advice. Although it's not often you go to the doctor and the solution is you need to buy a new car. That was an expensive trip to the doctor. That was an expensive trip. Like, all right, well, thanks for the $25,000 solution that no insurance will cover. So yeah, those are the 3 bones I've broken. The left thumb, the right thumb, and the left patella. Susan, that is unacceptable. What do they think? What do they think? Like they pay you to pay attention or something? So unreasonable. So unreasonable. All right. But these are going to be cute books. This is going to be a cute book. So once we get all these pockets on, then we can talk about what we're going to do with the rest of the pages. But I think we should add a flap. Susan says she would never peel off all her tape backing at once because she might stick it down crooked. Yeah, if you don't trust yourself, just peel off one piece of the tape. I just figure I'm usually fine, and if I'm really off where I can't live with it. What did I do to my thumbs? So my left thumb, this one, I broke with what's called a hyperextension break, which is where this is your thumb. So this is your thumb relaxed, this is your thumb extended, and this is your thumb flexed. So I did a hyperextension break where my thumb came back towards my wrist and it tore this ligament as well. And what happened to it is I was standing in the hallway at school, in high school, and someone was running in the hallway. Their backpack strap caught on my thumb as they ran past me, and they snapped my thumb back to my forearm. Which is why you don't run in hallways. That's why you don't run in hallways. Oh, that's a good idea. I Love to Journal has a friend who saves clothing tags to see what size they were. Hi, Debbie. Welcome back. That one was not my fault. There's nothing I could have done to avoid that, really. My right thumb is the worst break, the one that's worse. It was what's called a hyperflex break, where you hyperflex the thumb, which means it went in and it snapped towards my pinky, so it popped here. So this is so it snapped and it tore this ligament as well. And that break is pretty bad because what happened is I detached the ligament from my hand. So it broke off, the ligament broke off the thumb with a bone chip. And I didn't go to the doctor right away because it was in the middle of exams at school and I didn't want my hand in a cast to write my exams. So I was in college. College students make very poor life choices. And so what I did was I just wrote my exams and all my papers and everything with a broken hand. And then when I was home on Christmas break, I went to the doctor because it was still excruciating. And he took an x-ray and he said that my thumb had sent out a calcium bridge to grab the bone chip at the end of the ligament and reattach the ligament to my hand, to my thumb bone, which is amazing. It's amazing if you think about it. The human body's ability to repair itself is incredible. So the thing is, it attached it sort of in the wrong spot. So that's why I don't know if you've ever noticed, because it's not totally obvious, but my right thumb is crooked, on my hand crooked. So if you've ever thought my right thumb looked like it was attached weird to my hand, that's why. Hello, Sherry. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. I don't know if you can see it. You can see it in this photo. See, or like this. If I hold my hands like this, see how it curves down towards my desk? Anyway, he said it had healed. When I went home on break, he said it had healed so much it couldn't be set without re-breaking it, which would require minor surgery. And he said if it's not bothering you, don't worry about it. And it wasn't really bothering me, so I didn't worry about it. But if you see me wear those gloves, it's because my thumbs do hurt me sometimes if I craft a lot. Because this one was treated properly, but I just think it's just weaker. It's just always been weak ever since that happened. I think maybe because the ligament was torn. This one is just all, you can see how it just is weird on my hand, but it works better, you know, than this one does, even though this one was properly treated and this one wasn't. I think this break was worse. This one was my fault and it could have been avoided. This one was not, and I had nothing to do with it. But the one on my right hand, I was making my bed at like 2 o'clock in the morning. While I was kneeling on top of it after a school dance. And I kept tugging on my blanket to pull it to the top of my bed, but I was kneeling on my bed. So I was tugging something I was kneeling on. And what happened is I yanked it really hard. My hand slid off it because I was kneeling on it. And this hand slammed into my bedpost right there. And that's how it went down. So, like I said, college students, poor life choices, poor decisions, poor decisions. What I think is, I think you should maybe go to college when you're like 25. I think that's when college should start. And from high school to college, you can do we need some kind of intern program, something, you know, where you can mature enough to be trusted on your own. Because just based on my experience, I'm not sure people who are 18 should be living alone. Or it could just have been me. It could just be that I make poor life choices. Yeah, or maybe get a job or do an internship or something. I don't know. We need to figure out something for them to do. And then Debbie says, I teach college and I agree that it should start at 25 and not 18. Maybe some kind of civil service. Like, you know, you have to go work for some, you know, you don't have to, but if you want to, it's an option for you. You know, you don't have to, but if you want a job, there's jobs set aside for people that age group. Like you go work for the park service or something. Oh no, upside down. Okay, so that's fine. Let me make sure that's the only one that's upside down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, that's the only one that's upside down. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull off this top card with undo. Let me see if I can. Yeah, it's on there tight. I mean, plus there's just a lot of decisions I made in college because of things I thought I wanted to do, and then I ended up not actually wanting to do them because, you know, just what someone who's in high school thinks their life is going to be like and what they want out of life is totally different from what someone who's 23 wants out of life, what someone who's 25 wants out of life, and what someone who's 30 wants out of life. So I just think 18, I was not equipped to make decisions that would affect me for the rest of my life. You know? I just don't think I was. So, all right, I'm going to set these two aside to dry. I mean, I'm sure there are people who are equipped to make those decisions. But it's a lot to ask of someone who's 18, you know. I mean, just ask yourself if you would have paid an 18-year, if you would right now, if you would pay an 18-year-old $100,000 to decide what you're going to do for the rest of your life. Does that sound like a smart financial investment? And just, I feel like at 25, I would have studied more, like, you know, and stretching my wings and goofing off would have been less important to me. I don't know. You know, I'm not sure we've quite nailed it as far as how we do college. I think there's room for improvement. And I do think maybe having some kind of civil service opportunity, you know, so you could see you know, you could have an experience working a job, see what it's like to work a desk job, see if you even like it. What's going on, Kimberly? I'm going to keep going. All right. So going to keep putting these in books, and then we'll do a recording break, and we'll do the flaps that we'll use as closure pieces to hold stuff in the pockets. All right. And I've talked about this before. It's not that I don't use what I learned in college in my life right now, because there were skills I learned in college that are good skills to have as an adult. So, for example, I learned how to do research. I learned how to write. These are things that help me in my current job now. I was also heavily involved in drama in college and high school and debate, and I use that now, you know. So it's not, but I was a history major. I do not use that now. Not really, you know, and thank you, I love to journal. And while I don't think it's like useless to read the great books or whatever, I think, you know, your literature class makes you a better person, and reading great literature and what have you, you know, helps you as a person, you know, makes you more empathetic, things like that. So reading is great. These are all things that I probably could have learned without college or with less college. Yeah, the upside down card. Was it not upside down? Oh, okay. Drama does not end at college, that's true. That's why you guys are supposed to be hydrating, so you are too busy to have drama. Jill talked about this in the Facebook group. She said she exposed my secret reason for having you hydrate, so that you're too busy peeing to cause drama, to get involved in drama. Because you have a loud voice, you were always chosen to read out in college classes. I remember one time in college, it was in my early American novel class, and we had to write a paper, as you do, and I had gotten very good at writing papers by then. I spent a lot of time, that was something I wanted to be good at, writing. I wanted to excel at that. And I worked on it, and you know, I worked on not just conveying the information, but I wanted to have like delightful language, and that the paper would be enjoyable to read, etc. And so by the time I got to early American novel, which was an elective I took in the second semester of my senior year, just because I needed another elective and I wasn't doing anything during that time, I was very good at writing papers, you know. And so the professor assigned a paper, I wrote it, and I was like, this is a pretty good paper, you know, even, and and I turned it in. And I was not an English major, I was a history major, but history majors write more than anyone else, pretty much. Because there's not much else you can do. You have to write papers with your theories and then defend your theories. That's basically what you do in history. So you write a ton of research papers in history. At my college, no one wrote more words per year than history majors. And like poli-sci was a close second, but you know, history majors were writing more than anyone else. Always. We were always writing research papers. So, to write an English paper was nothing because they're a lot shorter and you're used to analyzing text and writing about it. Anyway, so the professor comes in and he's like, you all are terrible writers and you're seniors and juniors and this is a high level elective and I just don't know what your problem is. You're so bad. And I was like, oh snap, this guy must be a hard grader. So he's like, he said, except for one of you wrote a good paper. And so I make photocopies of it. And I'm giving you each a copy so that you know what a good paper looks like. But I don't want to embarrass the student, so I've blacked out their name. And I was like, oh no, this is my paper. And this is going to be my paper. I just knew it. And it was my paper. But the thing is, when you write a research paper, you have to put your name on every page up and right next to the page number. So it's like your name and then the page number. So your name's not just on the first page, it's on every single page. And he only blocked out my name on the first page. So everyone turned around to stare at me for being, the butt kisser who wrote a good paper. And that's another thing about college, is that being praised is still humiliating at that age, where you're like, I want to die. Whereas, once you get out at work, you want to be praised. You want to be called out for your effort. When you're older, you appreciate that. All right, so now all I have to do is, I have to move my disc. Journalism, I would think journalism, they would do a lot of writing as well. All right, so we're going to put that down. All right, and then peel it up. Creative writing, there are majors where I think you would do a lot of writing. My school was pretty small, so we only had like the typical liberal arts, English, political science. Like, we didn't have math. It was liberal arts only college. We didn't have things like journalism, creative writing, etc. It was just kind of classic liberal arts. Your son is poli-sci. So anyway, so yes, I do use stuff I learned in college all the time in my everyday life, but I'm not sure that I needed to go for 4 years to get all the skills that I got, because I didn't end up going into any kind of field where it mattered that I was a history major, I guess, is my final point. I went, like, as you know, I went into child abuse prevention, which is a field that requires a lot of research, requires a lot of writing. It requires a lot of talking. You have to be convincing. Again, I used a bunch of stuff. Maybe college isn't totally, well, what we need to do is we need to have some kind of condensed college that teaches those life skills, how to talk, how to read, how to analyze what you've read, how to talk about what you've read. And then also how to repair an air conditioner. So it needs to be like, you go and you get the good parts of college, which are, how to speak, how to write, how to read, how to reinterpret what you've read, all of that you need to, that is really useful. But without all of the, what date did William the Conqueror invade Europe, or invade England, because that is not particularly useful. 1066, by the way. So, but it's not something you need to know, So. All right. Well, I don't think, that stuff should be taught in high school, I think, Candy. Yeah, that's true. Like, you should probably go to college prepared to do all those things. All right, so here's our stack of pages. This is what we've got so far. So already, you know, we've got 12 pages. We've got cards on all of them on these pockets. They're ready to have a magnet. So what I'm going to do now is, I think what we want to do is we want to go through and put on the 4x6 flaps. So I'm going to take these 4x6 strips and I'm going to cut them all down to 4x7. And one of them I used to make the extra strip for my binding. So one of them I'm going to have to piece together. But that's okay. That's okay. So I'm going to cut all these down to 4x7. And then we'll score them all along the 7-inch line at 6 inches to make these flaps. And give us a little extra room to put stuff. So I'm just off at the Rotatrim, cutting them down to 4x7. But I think a lot of people get to college not knowing how to read and analyze what they're reading and think critically about what they've read. I know my first English professor, the whole reason I wanted to get very good at writing papers is I really, really liked my first English professor, and he just thought I was a terrible writer. And that was very upsetting to me. And I worked with him a lot, even after I wasn't his student anymore and I wasn't in the English track. You know, I still would even take like history papers to him every once in a while and go work on them with him. What could I do to improve my language, my arguments, etc. And you know, I never was told in high school that my papers were bad, you know, so. Okay, so now I'm going to take 2 of these pieces, these 5x4s that are left over, and I'm going to tape them together just so I don't have to cut into a new sheet. And I'm going to tape it right in the center just to hold them together. Oops. All right, let's tape them a little bit better than that. All right, and now I'm going to cut this down to 7 inches as well. And now we'll get all these scored and attached to the book pages. So I'm going to set this aside, have my little pile of scraps here. Well, Priya, I'm trying to think of how we can keep that exposure to the humanities without like I don't think you need 4 years of, I don't think it takes 4 years for you to get a lifelong appreciation for reading. I think it's like, I think that there's a way that can be condensed. I know that's what they're trying to do with Gen Ed. I don't know that Gen Ed imparts it, because I took a lot of classes in Gen Ed that I was like, ugh, I don't care. The worst Gen Ed class I ever took was, I was just going to say was Euclidean geometry. And you guys, anyone who's had me explain the Pythagorean theorem, you know, knows that I took this really bizarre geometry class where you studied the ancient Greek proofs that we use in modern geometry. So it's like, how do we know that a squared plus b squared equals c squared? You know, that's that class is useless. All you need to know is that a squared plus b squared equals c squared, unless you're gonna be in engineering, and then in which case it might be useful for you to know why a triangle is a triangle. See, I liked geometry but hated all other forms of math, and I think that's you left out how to repair an AC unit. I think that's pretty common. I've noticed that people don't seem to love all forms of math. People either seem to love geometry and not the others, or the others and not geometry. Like, I was talking to a friend who just loves calculus, and I was just looking at them like they had two heads. It's like, I cannot imagine loving calculus. Like, literally cannot imagine it. Like, you just cannot wrap my brain around that. See, the sentence trigonometry was fun, just can't compute. Can't compute. So, I don't know. I will also add that learning just for learning's sake is a good thing, and you don't need to have a reason to learn something. So just going to college just to learn, just because you want to learn, and not because you want something that's going to give you steady employment, you know, that's still a good thing. So maybe I shouldn't try and fix something that's been working for hundreds of years. I like geometry a little, but really enjoy statistics. All right, so these are now 4x6. So Jill says, my 73-year-old stepmother takes classes every semester at the local community college. See, I think that is totally worthwhile. I don't want to bag on higher education, like, conceptually. I just wonder if the way that we funnel kids into it and the weight that we give it is not correct. That's what I'm starting to question, I think. Is that I think that higher education provides some really useful stuff, but I wonder if we're overemphasizing certain aspects of it and setting people up to not be successful when something else might have benefited them better. I did recently hear that there is a college that's a vocational school that does like 2 years of humanities and 2 years of vocation. So you graduate in 4 years with having read some of the great literature of the human experience, and having studied art, and having learned history, and having done all that, but also so just setting you up to care about reading for the rest of your life and what have you, but you also have a trade. My arts teacher showed us a photograph of a lady in a veil and wind flowing and said, now write about this. I wonder if that's Borealis. Or Boreas? Is it? It's Boreas, not Borealis. Boreas. That's what I'm looking for. Boreas is the wind. And yeah, this one. This one. It's a pretty famous pre-Raphaelite painting. So look, I did learn something in college, guys. All right. So I'm thinking maybe we put this somewhere like this. I would say I called that a double Polaroid. I'll write that second word out. Like Polaroid, only not a copyright violation. It's a Polaroid. If only we could get salaries to work backwards so you have your kids when you're 18 and you can keep up with them, and then you go to university and then you start to work. That would be interesting. If you could get that done. All right, so I'm going to use 1-inch magnets. But I want to make sure. Okay, so I'm putting them this side down, this side down. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put tape on this flap. Remember, this is, we're adding all the pieces and parts. We're adding all the pieces and parts. So that, well, maybe what you could do. All right, so let's think about this. So you have your, let's say where people are going to college. College is no longer the thing you do after high school. Let's just completely decide arbitrarily that we're going to change how everything works. How would we do it? College is not the thing you do right after high school. The thing you do right after high school is you get some kind of civil service job. You write, okay, so you know how you can do 4 years in the military, and then you get the GI Bill benefit, and the military pays for college. This is in the U.S. I don't know how it works other places. What we need is, if you work 4 years of civil service, either military or just civil service, like you go work for the Social Security Administration or whoever, after college, after high school, then you get your college paid for. So what you do is you graduate high school, you go into the civil service jobs program, and this is how we fill low-level clerk positions, the people who file, stuff that you just need a high school education to do. You do that for 4 years, and then you're ejected. If you want to be ejected, you leave. Go get married. Maybe you found someone to marry while you were doing it, whatever. And then, you raise your kids, etc. And then you take your benefit, you go to college and get another job, a different job, a one you needed a college education for. Yeah, ejected by catapult. You just ejected by catapult. You can leave or you can stay. Maybe you like working in the Social Security Administration and you want to keep doing it, whatever. All right, while I have this tape out, I'm gonna add tape to my little flappy guy here. This is 1/2-inch tape. Oh well. But yeah, maybe, or we'll just leave the university as it is and just decide it works fine. And the worst thing that happens is occasionally people break their thumbs making their beds. It might be fun if you didn't know the date of your rejection. You're just typing away. You're just typing away, you know, doing your data entry on your social security forms or whatever, and then foomp into the sky. Free skydiving on the government. All right, so I'm just doing all these flaps so we can assembly line, stick them in the book. All right. Now, just ran out of 3/8-inch tape. Gonna get a new roll. Hopefully I just have one, which I do. Yay. All right. Gonna peel the tape off my tape. But one thing I will give college is that I have a real love of Russian literature because of college. That's not something that I think you do on your own. You don't pick up Dostoevsky and Tolstoy and all of those guys just because, like, just for fun one day when you're at the library. You know what I mean? So that is the one thing I will say that, you know, college really can do. Although I also heard John Mulvaney describe his English major this way, where he said, I paid them $130,000 to tell me to read Jane Austen, and then I didn't. Because a lot of times in college, you just don't do the reading. You just don't do the reading. And there are definitely some books I could have done without. At the top of my list of books that I just, like, were like, why are we reading this crap? Is The Consolation of Philosophy by Boethius. I just don't, I just never gained an appreciation for The Consolation of Philosophy by Boethius, which is a book written by a guy, I think, in jail for maybe being a Christian. This book was written in like 400 AD. So maybe it was a Christian persecution. I don't remember why he was in jail, but while he was in jail, Lady Philosophy came to visit him and console him, and I was just like, no. Right. I paid them $120,000 for them to teach me English, which I already spoke, and to tell me to read Jane Austen, and then I did it. So, all right. Anyways, education is a privilege, and I'm sorry I whined about it for an hour, guys. How's that? All right. I'm going to adhere this a 1/4 inch away from the score line so that there's not a ton of stuff like jammed up right along the score line. And then I'm going to flip it up. I'm going to remove the magnet, and then I'm going to flip it down, and then I'm going to put tape on this. I'm going to remove the tape from the back of the magnet. So what we're making today, Fran, is a spin-off of the Easy 6x8 album. All right, so we're going to put one of those on each of these pages. So I'm going to actually make a new new recording. I'll be right back. So I'm gonna stop the recording here, and the next recording I'm gonna put all these pockets on and add decoration to them. So that'll be part 3.